What is up, everybody? It's your boy Doody back again with another video, and this time we're taking a look at our boy DSP's daily rap video after a so-so day. And of course, Phil was stuck playing Final Fantasy 16 and Diablo on the night stream. And the night stream, oh my lord, the positivity just was super low. It was one of Phil's lowest positivity days in a while. The first stream was looking that way as well, but thankfully Grim Ripper, a new dent who is trying to make his way in the ranks of denthood, came in and dropped about $135 in tips. If it wasn't for him, Phil would have barely made $30 that day. But anyway, let's see what Phil has to say. I'm pretty sure he's going to complain about something.
Phil, and I welcome you here to the recap show. Today, I had almost nothing to talk about on the podcast. Admittedly, after an extended week of streaming here, you're kind of run out of topics, especially when not a lot is going on in the realm of game news. So today we recapped my performance in Street Fighter 6, including my really great session of Zangief yesterday, as well as got everyone caught up with my progress in Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And then we opened it up to a lot of Q&A, which was most of the show. So give it a look if you're interested in that. First stream today was the continuation of Final Fantasy 16. Now,
by the way, Q&A was like an hour long. It was utterly ridiculous. And the funny thing was the dents, even the dents were like, why are you so rigid with your schedule? Why are you doing an hour and a half podcast every single day when it doesn't need to be an hour and a half? Sometimes it can be an hour and a half. Sometimes it should just be 45 minutes. Go into the gameplay. And of course, Phil didn't like that. So he decided to clap back and essentially called people, morons, mouth breathers, the slew of insults that come out of Phil's mouth. So I just thought it was very funny that even the dents have realized, come on, dude, you don't need to be so rigid. You could just do a half an hour, especially on days. I mean, how much Q&A can you do, Phil? You do Q&A every single day because you just don't have enough to talk about on your podcast. And I don't know how many times people can ask you, what's your favorite food? Have you eaten a banana? Those questions have been answered a billion times.
I was excited to play the game because the last time that I had played it, the final half hour, the game had opened up and felt like classic Final Fantasy. You had an area with some exploration areas with optional fights, some mini-boss style enemies that were tankish, some optional loot and stuff to find. And I was like, this is cool. This feels like the exploration of Final Fantasy that we know of. It's not just a linear area. So I enjoyed it. And we cleared out that first area in about a half an hour, and then we got to a town, and the town had a lot of dialogue. Then we got to another area with a lot of dialogue, and then we got to the next area that had dialogue, and then there was dialogue, and then they said, oh, there's a couple side quests. So I did a couple side quests, and then there was dialogue. So I'm not kidding you. Today's stream, the first half hour was good. Then there was 2 straight hours of boredom. It was some of the worst writing ever. It was all filler. It was like you're going back to the original towns where you grew up in, and you're talking with the townspeople who have no significance on the plot whatsoever. It's just time killer stuff. It was incredibly boring. I couldn't believe it. My audience couldn't believe it. We're like, so after that slow start with all those cutscenes, you're just going to give us another 2 hours of cutscenes? And the answer was yes. It was almost all cutscenes. What is going on with this game? All right. But then after we got past that segment, the final half hour of today's Final Fantasy 16 stream was actually very good because you finally return back to that area from the beginning of the game called the Phoenix Gate. There's a dungeon there. You go through the dungeon. You fight new unique enemies. At the end, there's a boss. Then it leads to giant plot developments and double boss fight.
Okay, now, I don't know if you guys watch the stream or watch my clip of the actual stream, but of course, Phil's description of how the game went actually coincided with how the tips went. So essentially, it was a slow day until Grim Ripper, the new dent on the block, actually came in and dropped $135 in tips. I think he initially dropped it was like a $30 tip. It was like a 35. He dropped 3 tips. He dropped the $5 tip, a $25 tip, and then $100. And of course, that was towards the end of the stream. So as you guys can know, I always say that Phil judges games solely based on how many tips he received. And right here is a clear example of it. The first half of it was dull and boring, but of course, once the tips came in, Phil loved the Final Fantasy. It was awesome. It was great. And you can actually see his demeanor completely change on that. So if you guys get a chance, watch that video. It's pretty hilarious.
So basically the last 30 minutes of the stream was high octane fun with big plot developments and really good stuff. Why couldn't we just do that? Why did the game have 2 hours of padded filler that literally added nothing? I don't get it. It's funny because I'm now 11 hours into Final Fantasy 16. And although I don't hate the game, I don't get how someone is rating this game like 9 or 10 out of 10 like a lot of these fucking mainstream reviewers did. The game has concrete issues. The pacing is god-awful. The cutscenes are way too long. Everyone is too long-winded in everything they have to say. And the game keeps putting you against these linear areas you can't just, speed by. And they're boring as dirt. What the hell? It's 2023 and a person who's making a video game doesn't know how to write a narrative video game yet? I could have written better. It's called cut out the fat, cut out the filler. Go to the important parts that are interesting. Stop putting in junk that puts you to sleep. I don't know. I'm at a loss because my audience felt the same. It wasn't just me. We were all sitting there like, we can't believe that this game is so boring right now. And then it would get to the good part. Like, oh my God, this is great. Why the fuck did we waste 2 hours on today's stream with bullshit? So right now, Final Fantasy 16, is a mixed bag. Moving forward, we'll see how it goes. But the thing is, I'm not playing it again until Monday. Why so long? Well, tomorrow it's Street Fighter. I'm off on Thursday. Friday, we always do Street Fighter all day. It's Street Fighter Fridays. Saturday is React Day. And Sunday is my special summer marathon, the Digital Summer Party. So I'm literally not touching this game again until Monday. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, I just unlocked brand new abilities and stuff. So when we play it on Monday, hopefully we'll approach it with a fresh perspective. We'll be wanting to play it because it'll have been so long, and hopefully it'll be good and they won't give us crappy, boring filler. I hope. Really, because it's hard. I'll tell you right now, out of all the games I'm playing, and I wish I was exaggerating, there's the least attendees, least viewership for Final Fantasy 16. People got so turned off by the incredible amount of cutscenes at the beginning of the game, they're not interested in coming back. That's not my fault. And people have outright said, no, it's not your fault. Like, we were interested. We watched your first few parts. It's boring. We don't want to watch it. We'll watch your other streams. I'm getting more attendance and support and other things for games like Diablo and Zelda. Now,
yes, of course. Phil did nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong. Except for the fact that he craps all over the game and he still expects people to come out and watch the streams and support it. Of course, no one's going to want to watch your gameplay if you're crapping all over the game. If you tell your viewers, hey, this is a shitty game, why would they come out to watch it? Why would they come out to support it? You did the same thing with Zelda. You sort of started doing it with Diablo. Crapping on, it's just the same old, you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. Who wants to come and support that, Phil? So, yes, you did something wrong. What you did was you trashed the game that you didn't need to trash. Even if it's not that great, why trash it? If you're streaming it, try to highlight the good points. Try to talk about the lore. Talk about interesting things. But you just want to sit there like a dope with your controller and stare, to the right side of your screen and expect people to come and drop money on you. It doesn't work that way, Phil. You just can't crap on something and expect people to come just to see you. They come to see you stream a game, and hopefully it's a good game that keep their interest. And again, no one's going to pay or watch someone that hates a game. They're just not.
Today was the exception. We had one person come by who tipped a ton because they were a big fan and they wanted to support. And I was like, thank you. But that's the exception. Outside of that, yeah, Final Fantasy 16 has lost interest in just 3 streams. 3 days of streaming it already. That's horrible. So I hope this game picks up in a big way and we can get interest back, because if they keep interjecting hours and hours of boring cutscene bullshit, I can't blame people for not wanting to be around for it, I hope it gets better. I will say this. We're in the finale of the month. Tomorrow and Friday are my last 2 streaming days of June. If you like the content this month, I would ask a favor. If you're going to support my channels, please do it in the next 2 days. And when I mean that, I mean things on the YouTube side. For example, like super chats, memberships, or gifted memberships. I've definitely seen a decline in these in the last couple of weeks. Tips have been great, but I've noticed a decline on the YouTube side support. That's critical stuff. That's stuff that every month I depend on. I get paid behind the scenes by YouTube once a month. And basically anything I make in the next 2 streaming days will count for July. I'll get paid for that in July. And sadly, we just lost, like, no exaggeration, 270 plus memberships. These were memberships that were gifted last month. People have not renewed them. And because of that, it looks like I'm going to get a big dip in income in July, unless we do get a few people who come and maybe say, hey, I want to up my membership, or hey, I'd like to support the channel, I'd like to gift a membership. So if you were thinking of helping out right now, that would be a great way to do it. And I know, listen, there's a marathon coming up on Sunday. A lot of people wait to the marathons to do the support. If you want to, that's perfectly fine. I'm not going to tell you otherwise. I'm just saying it would be great in the next couple of days to get a little bit of rallying of support for the end of the month, so that next month I'm not kind of behind on everything because we had a big dip in gifted subs, okay?
This guy, oh my lord. I'm glad he's not telling us otherwise. I'm not glad he's not instructing us on how to tip him or how to give him money. I mean, thank you, Phil. That's very, very mature and big of you. Okay, so real quick, I want to give my theory on why Phil is stressing about memberships and super chats and all that. So I'm under the impression, or I believe, based on his patterns, based on his spending behavior, that Phil uses his YouTube check to pay all his bills, through his grocery shopping, anything associated with cat, the cat, and the house. YouTube pays all those bills, right? So he needs a certain amount just to pay all that stuff off. The tips that he received, which are a lot, which can range anywhere between $4,000 and $7,000 a month, he uses that for his pleasure, for whatever the hell he wants. His WWE champions, his gin, his DoorDash, buying stuff. That's what Phil uses that money for. So when if you notice, he begs for tips most of the beginning of the month. He'll say, hey, I need tips, I need tips, I need tips. And then towards the lower end of the month, when people are tipping and not giving super chats or doing memberships, he panics and he starts saying, oh my god, I don't have enough money because I spent all my tips on gin, WWE champions, and I don't have enough to pay my bills because I was begging for tips and didn't get enough memberships and didn't get enough super chats and so on. So I'm screwed. So that's when he goes into a panic like this, because he knows that I think Kat knows what he gets from his YouTube check, and she's probably under the impression that that's all he receives. So his tips, everything, are in that YouTube check, and she doesn't know that he spends most of that tip money on WWE, gin, and so on. So when he doesn't meet his monthly income to pay all his bills and everything, of course, Kat's going to say, why don't you have money for this? Why don't you have money for that? And then he has to explain himself. So that's why you see the full panic on Phil now, or the full court press now for Phil to try to get memberships, tips, so that YouTube check come July is enough to cover all his bills, and he doesn't have to explain. He'll be one step ahead of Kat and won't have to explain where all the tip money went. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Peace out.